Ladies, success isn't just about money, fame, or followers. True success is about growth, strength, and authenticity. Today we celebrate the 6 powerful signs of a successful girl, signs that reflect not just what she does, but who she is. She knows her worth. She doesn't look for validation in the eyes of others, because she already sees her own value when she looks in the mirror. She doesn't rely on compliments to feel beautiful or attention to feel important. Her confidence doesn't come from being liked, followed, or praised. It comes from a deep understanding that she matters, whether anyone acknowledges it or not. A successful girl has walked through enough disappointments, betrayals, and self-doubt to finally realize that her worth is not negotiable. She no longer lets people treat her like an option. She used to overextend herself just to keep people around. She used to think that if she loved harder, gave more, stayed longer, she would be enough for them to stay. But now she knows her worth was never in question. It was their inability to see it that was the problem. She knows that walking away from someone who doesn't value her is not a loss, it's a win. It's self-respect, it's power. She doesn't shrink to make others comfortable anymore. She no longer tolerates relationships, friendships, or environments where she has to dim her light or beg to be seen. She has standards, and those standards are not built on pride, but on self-love. When she enters a room, she carries herself with grace and quiet strength. She doesn't need to be the loudest voice or the center of attention. Her energy speaks before she does. People can sense her confidence. It's not arrogance, it's clarity. She knows who she is, what she brings, and what she will no longer accept. She has learned to be whole on her own, and that kind of strength is rare. She doesn't chase love, she attracts it. She doesn't tolerate disrespect, she distances herself from it. She doesn't explain her worth, she embodies it. And because of that, she's not easily shaken. Rejection doesn't break her anymore, it redirects her. Being alone doesn't scare her, settling does. She understands that the way people treat her is a reflection of them, not her value. A successful girl with self-worth is a force. She doesn't need permission to dream big or to take up space. She doesn't apologize for being ambitious, assertive, or driven. She embraces who she is, flaws, scars, and all, because she's worked hard to become her. She's not perfect, but she's powerful, and that power comes from one place, knowing that she is enough, exactly as she is. She has a vision. She doesn't move through life aimlessly or let the days pass her by without purpose. She wakes up with intention, with a fire inside her that pushes her to do more, to be more, and to give more. She isn't waiting for someone to come save her, hand her success, or tell her what her life should look like. She's already created that picture in her mind, and every day she's working to make it a reality. Her dreams are not small, they're bold, sometimes even intimidating. But she's not afraid of dreaming big. She knows that the size of her vision will always determine the size of her life. She's not interested in playing it safe, in doing what everyone else is doing. She wants to build something meaningful, something that lasts. She wants her life to be proof that women can rise, lead, and transform their world. She sets goals, not just once a year, but constantly. She reflects, adjusts, and pushes forward. She understands that vision without action is just a fantasy, so she puts in the work. She may not see results right away, but that doesn't shake her. She is committed to the process, even when it's slow, even when no one is watching, even when it gets hard. She's not doing it for applause. She's doing it because the dream inside her won't let her quit. She isn't distracted by trends or popularity. She doesn't need to chase what's hot or copy what others are doing. She knows her path is hers alone. Sometimes that means walking alone. Sometimes that means making sacrifices. But she's willing. She's willing to say no to what's comfortable, so she can say yes to what's possible. Her vision gives her discipline. It helps her prioritize what matters and cut out what doesn't. When others are scrolling, complaining, comparing, she's building. When others sleep on their potential, she's wide awake chasing hers. Her vision fuels her mindset. It gives her focus when life gets noisy. It gives her hope when life gets hard. And it gives her a sense of identity that's rooted in her purpose, not in what other people think of her. She doesn't allow fear to hold her back. Yes, she gets scared. Yes, she doubts herself sometimes. But she keeps going, because what she sees in her future is stronger than the fear in her present. Her vision isn't just about what she wants to achieve. It's about who she's becoming along the way. It's about impact. It's about legacy. It's about rising to the version of herself that she knows is possible. She lives with direction. She leads herself with purpose. And even if the world doesn't yet understand her vision, she moves forward because she sees it so clearly that she refuses to stop until it's real. She maintains boundaries, not because she's cold or heartless, but because she finally understands the value of her peace, her time, and her energy. She's been through seasons where she let too much slide, where she said yes when she wanted to say no, where she stayed silent when she should have spoken up, where she gave more than she received, and where she allowed people to drain her simply because she didn't want to come off as rude or difficult. But not anymore. Now she chooses herself. A successful girl understands that boundaries are not walls, they are filters. They don't push people away, they protect what's sacred. She knows that without boundaries, people will take advantage, intentionally or not. She has learned that being nice doesn't mean being available 24/7 or saying yes to everything just to please others. Her kindness is strong, not submissive. Her empathy has limits. She can care for others without compromising herself. She's no longer afraid to disappoint people who expect her to overextend. She doesn't apologize for choosing rest over chaos or solitude over drama. She doesn't feel guilty for cutting ties with people who constantly drain her, disrespect her, or cross the lines she's clearly drawn. She realizes now that not everyone deserves access to her. Not everyone deserves her vulnerability, her energy, or her presence. There was a time when she confused boundaries with being selfish, but she's grown. She knows now that the most powerful form of self-love is protecting her space. It's saying I won't allow this, and meaning it. It's not replying right away to every text. It's not explaining herself repeatedly. It's walking away from conversations, relationships, and environments that feel toxic, even if she once cared deeply. Because no matter how much she loves someone, she will never again love them more than she respects herself. She doesn't allow guilt to override her gut feeling. If something feels off, she honors that. She listens to her intuition. She doesn't need to justify her boundaries. She doesn't need approval to protect her own heart. Whether it's family, friends, colleagues or partners, she holds everyone to the same standard of mutual respect. And if someone takes her boundaries personally, she knows that's a reflection of their entitlement, not her worth. Maintaining boundaries isn't always easy. Sometimes it means losing people she thought would be in her life forever. Sometimes it means being misunderstood, labeled or judged. But she accepts that, because what she gains, clarity, peace, confidence and self-respect, is far more valuable than temporary comfort or fake connection. She stands firm. She doesn't yell to be heard. She simply decides what she will allow and what she won't, and she acts accordingly. Her boundaries are not up for debate, negotiation, or guilt-tripping. They are her way of saying, I matter too. And when a girl learns to protect her energy like that, she becomes unstoppable. She invests in herself. She understands that she is her greatest asset, and nothing will flourish in her life if she doesn't first take care of the one building it, herself. While others may spend time chasing validation or distractions, she is focused on growth. She sees her mind, body and soul as foundations of success, and she pours into them with intention and care. She knows that the return on self-investment is priceless. She's not waiting for the perfect moment to start. She begins where she is, with what she has. She reads books not just to sound smart, but to sharpen her mind. She signs up for courses, listens to podcasts, asks questions, seeks mentors, because she refuses to stay stagnant. She's hungry to learn, hungry to evolve. She doesn't need someone to push her. She's self-motivated, and her curiosity keeps her moving forward. But it's not just about education, it's also emotional growth. She's healing from what hurt her. She's unpacking old trauma, confronting limiting beliefs, and doing the internal work many people avoid. She knows that true success isn't just about what's visible. It's about the character and clarity within. She's not afraid to go deep. She faces her fears, takes accountability for her actions, and owns her story. She's not a victim of her past. She's the author of her future. Physically, she invests too, not for vanity, but for vitality. She moves her body because it energizes her. She eats mindfully, not perfectly, because she wants to feel strong, not sluggish. She makes time for rest, for sleep, for silence, because she's learned that burnout is not a badge of honor. She knows that she can't pour from an empty cup, so she fills herself first. Self-care is no longer optional, it's a priority. She also invests in her environment. She surrounds herself with people who challenge her, inspire her, and want to see her win. She removes herself from circles that gossip, complain, and play small. She's intentional about what she listens to, what she watches, and who she allows into her energy. She curates a life that reflects her goals. Every choice, no matter how small, is aligned with her desire to grow. And when she makes a mistake, she doesn't beat herself up. She learns. When she fails, she doesn't fold. She studies the lesson. She sees every setback as part of her evolution. She's not chasing perfection. She's building progression. She's in love with becoming the best version of herself. And she understands that the process is messy, slow and uncomfortable at times. But she's committed to the journey. She doesn't wait for others to believe in her. She believes in herself enough to take the first step. She doesn't need instant results. She's focused on long-term transformation. She knows that the woman she wants to be isn't built overnight. So day by day, habit by habit, choice by choice, she invests, and that's what makes her powerful. She never stops betting on herself. She uplifts others. She doesn't see other women as competition. She sees them as reflections of strength, resilience, and possibility. In a world that too often pits women against each other, she chooses to rise above the noise and create space for others to shine. Her confidence is not fragile. She's secure enough in who she is to celebrate someone else's success without questioning her own. She's the kind of woman who claps when others win, even if she hasn't won yet. She gives compliments without agenda, supports without expecting anything in return, and encourages without envy. She knows that there is room for everyone at the top, and someone else's light does not dim her own. In fact, she believes the more women shine together, the brighter the world becomes. She understands the power of sisterhood. She knows how rare it is to find women who are not just kind but genuinely supportive. So she becomes that woman. She lifts others with her words, her presence, and her belief in them. She shares opportunities instead of hoarding them. She offers advice without arrogance. She listens, affirms, and reminds the women around her of their worth, especially when they forget it themselves. She's not threatened by beauty, talent, or success. She's inspired by it, because she's done the inner work to know that someone else's greatness doesn't take away from hers. She doesn't compete from insecurity. She collaborates from confidence. And when she sees another woman struggling, she doesn't judge or gossip. She helps, whether it's through mentorship, encouragement, or just being a safe space. She shows up with love and integrity. She uplifts even when no one is watching. She supports others not for recognition, but because it's who she is. She understands that the energy she puts out will return to her, not just in success but in peace. And because she chooses to lift others, She attracts the right people, women who lift her in return. She builds relationships based on respect, not rivalry. She's not perfect, and she's had her moments of comparison and doubt like everyone else. But she's grown from that place. She's learned that tearing others down never made anyone rise higher. So now, she chooses something better. She's intentional with her words, mindful of her influence, and aware that her voice can heal or harm. So she uses it to build, not break. When she sees someone doing what she dreams of doing, she doesn't resent them. She studies them. She admires their discipline, learns from their journey, and allows it to fuel her own. She knows that we rise by lifting others, and she lives by that truth every day. In her presence, others feel seen, heard, and valued. And that is one of the most powerful signs of success, not just achieving greatness, but helping others rise with you. She stays authentic. She isn't trying to be anyone else. She's not performing for the world or putting on a mask just to fit in. What you see is what you get. With her, there is no guessing, no pretending, no adjusting herself to meet someone else's standards. She doesn't bend her personality to match the crowd, and she doesn't silence her voice to make others comfortable. She knows that her power lies in her truth, and she honors it unapologetically. She is not chasing perfection. She is embracing her realness. She owns her flaws, her quirks, her insecurities, and her growth. She doesn't try to curate a life that looks good but feels empty. She's not obsessed with how things appear. She's focused on how things actually are. And because of that, there's a sense of freedom in her presence. She's not exhausted from faking it. She's energized by being herself. She's authentic online and offline. She doesn't post just for likes or validation. She shares because she's passionate, honest, and human. She doesn't edit her life to appear flawless. She's not afraid to talk about her struggles, her healing, and the lessons she's learning. She knows that someone somewhere might find strength in her transparency. She knows that real stories touch real hearts. She has walked through seasons where being herself felt risky. She's experienced moments where being honest cost her relationships, opportunities, and approval. But she stayed true anyway, because she's learned that losing people who only loved the version of her they created in their minds is not a loss. It's a blessing. She'd rather be rejected for being real than accepted for being fake. She doesn't shape-shift depending on who she's around. Her values don't change to gain popularity. Her opinions aren't silenced just to avoid conflict. She knows how to stand alone if it means standing for something real. She's not here to blend in. She's here to live fully, boldly, and truthfully. Her authenticity draws people in, not because she tries to impress them, but because people crave realness. In a world full of filters and facades, they trust her because she's consistent. They feel safe around her because she's not pretending. And most importantly, she trusts herself. She doesn't second-guess her identity or her journey. She lives with alignment. What she says, what she does, and what she believes are in harmony. She accepts that not everyone will like her, and that's okay. She's not for everyone, and she doesn't need to be. The people meant for her, the opportunities aligned with her truth, they'll find her because she's not hiding. She's not molding herself into what the world wants. She's becoming more of who she was always meant to be. And that kind of authenticity can't be manufactured. It's built through self-awareness, through courage, and through a quiet refusal to let the world change her essence. She doesn't need a spotlight to shine. Her light comes from within, and it never dims, because it's real. She knows how to handle failure. She doesn't see failure as the end. It's part of the journey, part of the growth, and sometimes even the most important teacher she'll ever have. She doesn't crumble under the weight of disappointment. She might fall, she might cry, she might feel broken for a moment, but she never stays down. She rises, every single time, because she's learned that failure doesn't define her, it refines her. She understands that success isn't a straight line. It's full of wrong turns, missed opportunities, rejections, delays and heartbreaks. But she is not discouraged by that anymore. In fact, She expects it. She is mentally prepared for the detours. She doesn't give up just because something didn't go as planned. She takes the hit, reflects, adjusts, and then comes back stronger. There was a time when failure shook her deeply. When one setback made her question everything about herself. When one closed door felt like a reflection of her worth. But not anymore. Now, she knows that failure is feedback. It tells her what didn't work, what needs improvement, and where to go next. She uses it to sharpen her strategies and strengthen her character. She turns losses into lessons. She's not afraid to take risks, because she's no longer afraid to fail. She would rather try and fall short than spend her life wondering what if. That courage sets her apart. She doesn't play small to protect her ego. She puts herself out there, fully aware that it might not work, but also fully committed to the possibility that it might. She chooses movement over comfort, progress over perfection, and when people criticize her for failing, she doesn't let their words break her. She knows that those who mock others for falling are usually too afraid to even try. She doesn't let the fear of judgment hold her back. She reminds herself that the people she admires most didn't get there without falling more times than they can count. So she takes the bruises and keeps building. She doesn't see failure as personal. It's part of the process. She knows that rejection doesn't mean she's not good enough. A missed opportunity doesn't mean she's not worthy. A delay doesn't mean denial. Sometimes failure is simply redirection. Sometimes it's life protecting her from something that wasn't meant for her. And sometimes it's just the preparation she needs for something even bigger. She owns her mistakes. She doesn't make excuses or blame others. She takes responsibility, learns quickly, and applies the lesson. That's where her strength lies. Not in perfection, but in persistence. She has developed resilience, not just through wins, but through wounds. She's faced moments that could have broken her, and instead she built herself from them. So when failure comes, and it always does, she doesn't panic. She pauses, she processes, and then she pushes forward. Because she's not defined by what goes wrong. She's defined by how she responds. And a girl who knows how to handle failure with grace, wisdom and grit, is already destined for success. She manages her time wisely. She understands that time is the most valuable resource she has, one that can never be replaced or refunded once it's gone. She treats her time with the same care and seriousness that others treat money or possessions. She knows that how she spends her hours is how she builds her life. So she chooses with intention. Every moment matters to her, because she's building something meaningful with her life. She doesn't waste her days scrolling mindlessly, chasing distractions or getting pulled into drama. She's not easily swayed by what's trending or urgent but unimportant. She's learned to distinguish between what feels good in the moment and what brings lasting value. That's why she plans, prioritizes, and protects her time. She doesn't say yes to everything and everyone. She doesn't feel guilty for declining invitations that don't align with her goals or energy. She knows her boundaries, and she honors them by managing her schedule with purpose. She wakes up with a plan, not because she's rigid, but because she's focused. She doesn't let the day happen to her. She leads her day. She sets goals, makes lists, blocks out time for deep work, and makes space for rest too. She understands that hustle isn't about being busy. It's about being productive. And productivity isn't just checking off tasks. It's doing what truly matters, consistently. She also respects other people's time. She shows up on time, keeps her word, and communicates clearly. She doesn't ghost, flake or overpromise. Her discipline and time awareness make her reliable and trustworthy. Whether it's a meeting, a deadline, a phone call or a date, she treats every commitment with the same level of respect. Because she knows that how she handles time reflects how she values people, including herself. She builds routines that support her growth. She's not aimlessly reacting to life. She's designing her day around what builds her mind, her body, and her future. She might wake up early to read, exercise, pray, or journal. She might carve out evenings to reflect, plan or rest intentionally. Whatever her rhythm, it's not about perfection, it's about alignment. She structures her time so that her actions align with her vision. She is also flexible when needed. She knows life isn't always predictable. Plans change, interruptions happen, but she doesn't fall apart. She adjusts without losing focus. Her discipline isn't rigid, it's resilient. She can bounce back after a delay or disruption without spiraling into self-sabotage. That emotional maturity allows her to keep moving forward, even when the day doesn't go perfectly. And when she rests, she truly rests. She doesn't confuse rest with laziness. She knows that recovery is part of growth. So she sets boundaries around her time off too. No guilt, no apology. She doesn't glorify burnout or brag about being busy. Instead, she aims for balance, because she knows that a well-rested mind is more creative, more strategic, and more powerful than a constantly drained one. She's intentional with every hour. She knows that time is either invested or wasted, and she chooses to invest hers into the things, people, and goals that matter most. Because she's not just passing time, she's building a legacy. So when you look at a girl who walks with purpose, protects her peace, grows from pain, and pours into others without losing herself, you're not just looking at someone who's successful on the outside. You're witnessing someone who has built that success from the inside out. Her mindset, her habits, her boundaries and her authenticity all reflect a quiet power that doesn't need to shout to be heard. She's not trying to impress the world. She's trying to become the best version of herself. And that, more than anything, is the true sign of a successful girl.